movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island. 'Cause nothing's better than a motion video.
Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando. It airs Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. Listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
I'm Ezra Hoover.
and this is Cinema Classics. Ezra, how's a guy like you looking at a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine? I mean, don't you have better things to do? You're a physician for Christ's sake. You got a busy life.
Not at all.
Oh, what is it then?
Comic nerds like us have been waiting for a movie like this for a long time. There's just jokes aplenty and cameos and guest stars and everything. This is what we wanted. It's chock full.
So were you looking at comic books early in your life?
I was an X-Men guy.
Oh, okay, good,
Yes.
yes. When I grew up, my dad, who was also a physician, used to buy us 4 comic books every week.
Oh, lucky you.
And because there were 4 kids, and we just loved them. The thing we didn't do was save them.
I didn't either. I didn't have that. My hands were always dirty, and
Consider how valuable mine would be.
Right. I didn't maintain them at all. The problem was I'd get one for my dad, and I'd have to hide it from my mom because I wasn't allowed to have it.
All right, so Deadpool and Wolverine. Let me tell you what attracts me. I'm an old screwball comedy guy. For example, my best example is Cary Grant, Rosalind Russell, and his girl Friday. And that quick repartee kills me. I love it when it's well written.
That pitter patter, it's amazing when they have that chemistry, and they clearly have some bromance going on.
Oh,
they definitely have good chemistry.
Oh yeah. There are very small parts there where they do play on that. But Ryan Reynolds. Now we have 2 megastars. Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman.
Right.
How about Reynolds? What do you think?
Is Ryan Reynolds a megastar yet? I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
And
The other Ryan is.
The other Ryan, yeah, the other one is. That'd probably bring me one of my first criticisms of the movie. Hugh Jackman, I agree, it's a buddy comedy, but he's just a foil for Ryan Reynolds' character. Just plays it totally straight. He doesn't have that room to act, to emote, like in Logan, for example.
Yes.
It almost feels like a waste of Hugh Jackman, dare I say it.
Well, yeah, and he brings a certain gravitas.
He does.
Now, but Reynolds is listed as the top writer.
Mm-hmm.
So I suspect he had an awful lot to do
I'm sure.
with the dialogue.
I'm sure.
And I personally think he's brilliant in his delivery.
I do. I agree. I think he's born to play Deadpool. The same way Hugh Jackman's born to play Wolverine.
Wow.
When we have to transition that actor away from the character, it's going to be tough. Whichever actor takes over, it's going to be a big shoes to fill.
And Deadpool reminds him a couple of times, they're going to be doing this till he's 90.
Until he's 90. I'm sure he doesn't mind at all.
And I have some other quotes that you'll suffer through when we get to our podcast.
Okay.
We have plenty of time because we know nobody listens.
All right, perfect.
So, but we get to that point, I'll read you a few.
All right.
We can remember, because for me, that's it. The dialogue is everything.
Perfect.
Ezra, I can barely make out the plot. Can you give us a sentence or two on the plot?
Is there a plot? I don't think that. The whole point is that there is no plot. It seems like a whole scheme just to get back at Fox for the treatment of the X-Men intellectual property. I would be, totally amiss if there is any plot at all.
Now, Disney has taken over.
Yes.
And Reynolds remarks about that a couple of times.
It's pretty funny.
Yes, funny.
I give kudos to Disney for a family a company like that allowing a movie like this to be produced.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is so out of their wheelhouse.
It is.
And you were mentioning earlier that you've seen some returns on this, and it's not as great as you might have expected.
Yeah, I was interested. I was reading some critic reviews. A lot were positive, but some were kind of panning the movie as just fan service, which I think misses the point. That's the whole point of the movie.
That's right.
Fan service.
Well, it is. And it's one where you don't need, although it adds to the pleasure, to know the cameos.
Right.
But if you don't know the cameos, if you don't know that's Channing Tatum,
Right.
who cares?
I squeezed
Because
into
even
that
if you knew
scene.
who it was, it wouldn't be great.
Right. And I did know, I don't know if I've seen every last movie, like Elektra, for example. I didn't see that one. You'll have to forgive me. It's not the greatest movie from what I've heard.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't know. Did you know all the references? Do you feel like it's necessary to enjoy the movie?
No, I don't.
Okay.
However, if I were to take the time, I would enjoy it.
Right.
But I'd have to research
Oh, yeah.
early, or bring a nerd like you
Yes.
along,
Yeah.
who would say, "Now, John, that's so-and-so."
Some of them were beyond me even. I mean, they dusted Blade off Wesley Snipes,
Right,
who's
Snipes,
almost 60, I think, at this point. He got dentures.
Yeah, you're right. He's got what I call Denzel Washington teeth.
He does.
He's got
He
these
does.
blazing white teeth.
He
I
does.
first looked at it and said, "Who is that?" Oh,
I've heard some whisperings. You may have to edit this out later. I don't know if it's
Okay,
true
good.
or not, but there are whisperings of who's going to replace him. They're going to try to revive that IP. There's talk of Mahershala Ali, perhaps, from the Green Book.
Yes, sure,
Excellent
I know him.
actor.
He's great.
That would be nice to see
Yeah.
a fresh new actor in that
Yeah,
costume.
yeah. So what are they looking for? I mean, come on, Ezra, even something as disjointed as this has to have some kind of a through line. What can you suggest one?
I think it's just purely based on bromance between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
Simple as that. And people pay to see it. They're very entertaining. They have
Yes,
all
they
kinds of
are,
content
yeah.
online, and that's basically it. If you don't like that, you're not gonna like the movie.
I found more than one reference to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Oh, did you?
Well, when they were facing this phalanx
Mhm.
of guys that look like these little
Time cop people, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then they have a slow-mo when they're going toward them.
Right.
Just like when they were going over the cliff, I
Right.
think it was a slow-mo.
Right.
Anyway, so I saw that, and then it doesn't vary very when you have a bromance.
Mhm.
It's pretty similar, though they're obvious in the homoerotic nature of it. They
Right.
don't apparently.
They embrace it. They embrace it.
They really do. Now, my home line on this is the business of friendship and identity.
Mhm.
I find, Ezra, in most of these superhero films, they're looking for one major thing, home or
Mhm.
family.
Right.
Guy like Wolverine will be looking for a daughter.
Right.
That's always there, and they want to get home.
Mhm.
And then the other is, and they emphasize it on this, the idea of friendship.
Mm.
Does that strike you as true here?
Yeah, I think so, a little bit. I almost feel like it's more, again, about thumbing the nose at Fox.
Okay.
But also more, it's a foil to the more recent superhero movies that have become so big and self-important
Yes.
and over the top in terms of the importance of their missions. This is the opposite. It's a guy who doesn't care about anything, and he'll do whatever he wants. The end.
Yeah. I just had reviewed in Cinema Classics The Big Lebowski,
Okay.
and you're mentioning the dude.
Yeah.
It's the guy who doesn't care
Yeah.
about anything.
That's your opinion, man.
I know, that's right, yeah. So Reynolds' character
Mhm.
could be somewhat the same. And I guess that's what I like it as an antidote to some serious things that are happening.
Yes.
Versus we don't have to get political, but this is a very serious political business these days.
Absolutely.
You talk about Trump, Kamala, you're talking very, very serious. So
Right.
to me, it's an antidote to that. I can laugh at this, I can see, things are gonna turn out all right and so on, but
Right. Heavy stuff. It's not heavy stuff at all. It's the opposite. Very light stuff.
yeah.
And it's to the point where I think if someone isn't quite as plugged into the franchise, it could be considered a criticism where it matters so little, then why are we even watching this, right?
Yes.
And he, without giving away too much, he even goes to a random dimension timeline and pulls a Wolverine from a completely different timeline, so nothing really matters, right? It's almost like an easy out for the writer. None of this has to be wrapped up because he's from another dimension. You can kill whoever you want, whenever you want.
How about when as he's searching to find Wolverine,
Oh,
the
yeah.
first one he comes to is in a bar,
Right.
and you have a little guy,
Yes.
first of all you see the head.
Yes.
They always found Wolverine, then he's this little guy.
I love that part because the comic book nerds know Wolverine is actually supposed to be very short. He's supposed to be, I can't remember, 5'4" or something less than that. So,
really?
yes.
Now, that's fascinating.
Yeah, the real interpretation. So showing what that would actually look like is pretty awesome and hilarious. Hugh Jackman's actually way too tall to play a real Wolverine. You know?
Yeah, and he's way too muscular.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it depends on how you look at it.
Right.
For me, it's distracting.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be. I hope to look like that when I'm 50.
Well, yeah, but that's like, sometimes that's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
I have that feeling when I see female bodybuilders.
Right.
There's a certain point at which it is not
It's
attractive.
a little too
to me.
much. Right.
Yeah, it's a little too much. So, and that's what I find out with him. But that's part of the shtick.
He's a method actor. He's
I
gonna
know.
do it. He's gonna do
He's
it.
wearing that special Wolverine when he wears that outfit.
Right.
You got out of the way.
Now that's a huge deal to X-Men fans, that yellow suit, because that was one of the originals. Not his first one, I'm not an expert in this, but one of his original retro suits was the bright yellow suit, which they didn't have the courage to make him wear in the movies until this one. So then he actually put on the mask too.
Yes.
This is all total fan service, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But just seeing him live that out in flesh and blood with the yellow costume and everything, it's a sight to
I
behold.
think when he puts the mask on,
Yes.
Reynolds makes some kind of an allusion to Batman.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And there's where, if you know anything about it, you're
Right.
going to miss a little bit of the pleasure
Right.
of the movie.
Right,
It's
right.
kind of that broad, everybody knows if they've ever seen the movie. That's
Exactly.
good stuff.
Right, and they make references to how silly they look, which I like because the whole thing is, so important. It can be ridiculous sometimes,
Oh my.
and they know.
Ezra Hoover,
John.
we have to send our people to our podcast. In this case, it's Double Take.
Yes,
WCBE.org. Now, do you have any final words for our audience?
Go see it. You'll love it, even if you don't know what's going on.
It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From